This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Berryfield. I'm coming to you on a Tuesday night in the middle of February, in the beginning of February, for an MJ edition.
The ceiling is the roof.
The MJ edition. That means it's just me and my co-host, Mike. Mike, talk.
Hello, this is Mike Regalado coming to you from the North Valley, where the rain has not stopped for the last 76 days. And this atmospheric river, which, okay, calm down, people. They started using atmospheric river, in the last 6 months? Yeah. Oh, now that's the cool thing to say? We haven't said this at all in the last 40 years, and now it's an atmospheric river. It's heavy rain, bitches. Heavy rain. Thank you. And
chocolate rain.
And on
black rain.
And on top of that, something that's been bugging me for like 40 years.
Heavy rain sounds like an action movie.
Heavy rain. Atmospheric River sounds like a band that's playing at Coachella.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
wait, has anybody corrected you from saying heavy rain to atmospheric river? Because my whole thing, like I don't really have I'm not going to take a huge stand on, homeless versus unhoused. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm not. However, I get really offended when someone corrects me from one to the other. Because I have a friend at work. He's like, I can't believe these goddamn libtards saying unhoused. But then he's like, but I'm like, but if I say, if I say unhoused, it'll like yell at me. But if he says homeless and some libtard will yell at him, and I'm like, well, it's just they mean exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
they're the exact look. You can't get more innocuous on either of those words.
You know what the other one?
Homeless. Unhoused, right? Mm-hmm. What's the fucking difference? If you want to say unhoused, I want to say homeless. Tomato, tomato. Fuck you.
Also, dead and unalived. I'm like, that one is a bit of a stretch. Like I'm just making fun of it because all of a sudden that's kind of like the key phrase.
Yeah, well,
but I'm like,
Mike, you're preaching to the choir, and it's just so much of this, like people trying to control the language or whatever. Yeah. And it's like I'm never really offended if you want to use the language in a creative way to say something new or say something old in a different way. I'm fine with it, but don't just come at me if I want to say it the same old way, or if I want to say something creatively. Mike, me and you are men of letters, right? What's your degree in? Is it English?
Psychology.
Well, we took an English class together.
Yes,
at UCLA,
we did.
And
I still, I keep telling people. Are we recording?
Yes.
This is great. I keep telling people...
I'm going to plug in, we haven't done the open yet, but I'm going to plug the open in onto this because this is already too good.
Although this could be the intro to a After Dark. I'm just saying, if we have time tonight, we can continue off this. But we both fell in love with How Green Was My Valley, and I remember you and me talking about it and going, oh my God, this chapter, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to class one day, and the professor is just ripping it apart.
That guy was
such
a dick.
What? It's like, I like it.
Oh, he's such a dick. And he wanted us to read, by the way, he assigned, How Green Was My Valley, and then he assigned, like Middlemarch, and he assigned something else.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
How many pages, Mike, were those books that he assigned every single week, one novel, that all of these things were right? 800 pages each? That's like, you motherfucker. And then you're going to assign us a book and then tell us how shitty it is?
Yeah.
Mother F you. And by the way, the only book that he didn't like was the one that we liked.
I don't know
what his problem was. Asshole. Still.
English majors, right?
Right?
Jake?
That's me. English professors. Am I right?
All right, let's put a pin in this because
I had one of the coolest.
I think we should do it after dark. This is a great start.
Maybe we will. But with that being said, welcome to the What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show network. It's Twitter. What's our Twitter, Mike? At What's Bruin Show.
At What's Bruin Show, yeah.
What's our email, Mike?
Same with the Instagrams.
What's Bruin Show at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Substack, what'sbruin.substack.com. On YouTube, search What's Bruin Show. It'll come up. And WBSN merch, also on a My Locker site. Look in the show notes. And the hotline, of course, 805-399-4WBS.
Suck it, Rain of Troy.
Suck it, Rain of Troy.
Go Bruins.
And it's been the atmospheric river, Mike, or the heavy rain, as we like to call it, has been something to deal with. But I always laugh because I'm like, it's not really that bad when you're out in it. until you want to like drive on the freeway or something.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like white knuckling it to Pasadena to drop your daughter off for a day in Pasadena to go have breakfast. And you're like, why am I doing this? Because I'm almost being ridden off the road. But otherwise, not that bad.
Although I got to say,
that fool that got stranded in the Balboa Basin, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy.
What do you have to say, Mike?
You know what's funny? It's like in East LA, it's pretty flat, and I'm getting all of these alerts for flash flood warning. I'm like, East LA, there's nothing.
Stop waking me up, iPhone.
Yeah, I know.
Give me a break.
But then I'm hearing like so I drive quite a bit. So there are 4 things I listen to: podcasts of all genres,
oh hell yeah,
KNX 1070, AM 570 / ESPN sports radio, and the CSUN 88.9. I forget what the
look at you.
So those are like
go Matadors.
I spread out occasionally, but those are basically the 4 things that I listen to. But listening to KNX 1070, they're talking about all this stuff going on in the Palisades, Santa Monica, the Valley, even Baldwin Hill, all these landslides and stuff like that. And I'm just like, the last 2-3 days I've been just all along the 10 freeway where nothing really has happened. And by the way, yesterday, they're talking about how, this is going to be crazy heavy rain at my job. I work at a school. I would say a third to half of the student body was not there.
Yeah.
That also seemed to be the case for all of LA County, because I gauge my drive from East LA to West LA. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes. If I can tell I'm doing well if I'm past downtown at 7:30 in the morning. The last 2 days, at 7:30 in the morning, I've left 10 minutes early the last 2 days. At 7:30 in the morning, I was at work.
That's pretty
no
good,
traffic.
That's
absolutely no traffic.
That's kind of a victory, though, right?
But even so, it was awesome.
That deserves some horns.
It's been quite a ride, but
it does also speak to, though, when we catastrophize everything and tell people, "Oh my God, it's going to be terrible." But then, your school district's like, yeah, it's going to be terrible, but, come to school anyway. Like, I don't know what to do, like what to think, right? 10 years ago, they just say, get your butts to school, and we'd believe them. Now it's like when they cancel school for a couple of years, they're like, I definitely don't take it as seriously as I did before.
Although, I mean, I kind of get it. LAUSD has its problems, but they did cancel that Monday when we had our hurricane, that weird thing back in August,
the Sharknado.
September. Yeah, the Sharknado. The what was it? The Hurricane?
Hurricane, yeah.
And I called it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Either way, we are so off the rails, and we haven't even started yet. But happy rains to everybody.
Yeah, no, and I hopefully I've had one actual hairy moment. I've never actually look the rain to me. We live in a place where we don't get a ton of rain, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So are we prepared for rain when it actually comes? No, and that's totally understandable. And so I get it. I'm not going to pound on the city government in this respect just because
preparedness is essential.
There are some things they could do to be better, but. I mean, we're all Californians. We're all kind of lazy when it comes to this kind of shit. So we all get the California pass. Yeah, we're unprepared for the weather.
But at the same time, like I was saying, in East LA, I've seen nothing damage-wise. Yeah. But hearing that there's some house in the foothills where a boulder came crashing in, I was like, yeah, that's kind of serious.
Yeah, well, and some of that stuff you can't control. The stuff like...
Although I did see a car that was facing the wrong direction on the 10 freeway yesterday. I was like, ooh.
Well, and that goes to people driving like assholes in the rain, and that's a personal responsibility argument, right?
Oh, all Sunday, I told my kids, when you start driving and it rains, here's 2 things you need to remember. Leave 15 minutes earlier and drive slow.
Oh, it's funny. That's the polar opposite of the old Kevin and Bean advice, which is if it's a rainstorm, you have to drive as fast as possible so that you get there faster. You're less time on the road.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy because, like I was saying, there was no traffic on the freeway the last 2 days, but everybody was still driving slow.
Yeah. Well, I forgot what point I was going to make, and that's okay because I doubt it was a good one. But anywho, enjoy the rain while it's here and try to say, I know what it was. I did have one hairy moment driving around the rain because normally it doesn't really bother me too much. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're driving slower. Obviously, you're driving more carefully. Yeah. Obviously, you're watching for a-holes. But if you do that, generally, it's fine, unless you run into like one of these roads that are completely flooded. But, in the valley, it's just certain areas. But I was getting onto the 405 yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I've never had this happen to me on a merge, but it was coming down pretty hard. And it just happened to time up where a tractor trailer about 30 foot long was passing by me as I'm trying to merge. And he was putting up a tidal wave, right? So I had no control over the situation other than to just slow down and hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
But my windshield got covered with a flood of water I could not see for about 4.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like normally it happens, he's like, it splashes you and it goes away. But I was like in this guy's geyser and I'm like, I had to take a little bit of evasive action, but not do anything too crazy because I had no idea where I was going.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
So that was nuts.
There's a spot on the 10 freeway east, right around, I would say, Mateo Street. Probably a little bit.
You mean Coburno Street?
Oh my.
Anyways.
Yeah, where it,
Inside
no
baseball.
doubt, especially when it's raining.
Wait, no doubt was there? What? Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm derailing you, Mike. Go ahead.
They're reforming, and I'm just cannot care.
Yeah. Me neither.
Anyway, go Bruins, I guess. Wow, we've really derailed. So I know you're this far into the podcast, but if you're like...
I'm happy that UCLA won.
It's okay.
Just fast forward to where the actual content is. But still, be safe out there.
There'll be a time code.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anywho, I guess Mike said it all. We already did all our opening stuff. So with that being said, let's get on to the BRO-Filiated Headlines with your guy, Mike Regalado.
Mike Regalado.
We're going to talk about more in-depth talk.
Hi, bro.
That wasn't coherent at all, but sorry. We're going to get into basketball, which is we're in basketball season, so it's the main topic of conversation for
I
these.
would like to avoid the basketball shows for as long as possible.
Always.
For these episodes, but we do want. I do want to highlight Mr. Dylan Andrews, who has had a rough start to the season, especially following Tiger Campbell. I mean, how do you follow Tiger Campbell? That's like crazy. That's like trying to follow Michael Crawford as, the next Phantom of the Opera. You just cannot do it. But
I liked it better in EFX. I have no idea what that is. Lord of the Dance? Was he Lord of the Dance too?
We'll talk about it later.
No,
Later.
It's terrible.
But Dylan Andrews, who
Of course he's the Phantom.
averaged 19.5 points
Just a baller, man.
in the last two games, received his first ever Pac-12 Player of the Week. And on top of that, he is also the UCLA Student Athlete of the Week.
Baller, man.
Straight baller.
UCLA's resurgence in the last 6 games, 2-3 weeks, would not be what it is without Dylan Andrews. And he has just been all over the place. Not only has he increased his offensive production, but he has the offense flowing. And on top of that, he had 4, I believe, rebounds per game, which is... it's not much, but he averages 2 rebounds per game. But the fact that he not only got 4 in both games against Oregon State and Oregon, but he contributed to UCLA's huge offensive rebounding game in the last two contests. With I think he had 3 offensive rebounds total. When you have your point guard grabbing offensive rebounds, that's a huge deal. We're going to talk a little bit more about football in a different context, but I have 2 little tidbits for you. UCLA landed its first 2025 commit as linebacker Weston Ports gave his pledge to the Bruins. And this guy is an absolute baller. Not only has he started for ever.
Straight baller.
This is a guy who has had offers from Florida State, Georgia, Miami, Michigan, Oregon, Ohio State, just to name a few.
Those Ducks are wimpy.
And the Bruins landed him. So
Let's go. Why? Somebody tell me why.
Well, for starters, Mr. Greg Biggins, who is a recruiting guru at 24/7 Sports, talked to him and basically got a few of these quotes from him. Port said, first off, they have everything I was looking for in a school. They have great culture, great academics, and high-level football. The coaches have shown so much support, and I really connected with them. That's great, considering the recruiting woes UCLA has had.
Well, maybe it just shows that if they actually try to recruit someone, they might actually recruit someone.
Yeah, that's true.
That is a novel approach.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And Jake, really quickly, I want to get your thoughts on this. With things up in the air question mark about UCLA's coaching staff. Chip Kelly interviewing for offensive coordinator positions in the NFL. It was announced that the Bruins have updated the titles of 3 coaches. Tim Drevno is now the run game coordinator. The homie Jerry Neuheisel is the passing game coordinator.
Chip Kelly.
And Cody Whitfield is the special teams coordinator.
Yeah,
now,
I do. I want to talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, we'll
Unless
get
you
into
wanna
that
talk
later.
about
So
it
yeah,
right
I just wanted to talk about that as a
So I have
headline.
kind of a little bit of a rant about all that stuff.
Let's do it. So
Let's tease that later.
So that's the those are the headlines for that situation. And yeah, those are the headlines for this week.
Mikey, let's do some men's basketball talk today because we've been doing the ladies first. As it should be. Ladies should be first in our lives, and when we open doors and whatnot.
But there's a little
Chivalry's
extra
never dead.
news with the women that we need to really dive into.
And also, I want to celebrate the men's team this time.
True,
right?
true.
The ladies have been achieving at a higher level for the most of the season, but have they won 5 out of 6, Mike?
Yeah,
they haven't, have they? The men have. Yeah.
The men have, yes.
The men have. Coming off of a great weekend at Poly Pavilion against those wimpy Ducks. Where'd my wimpy Ducks go? Oh, here it is.
The Ducks? They're wimpy. They don't even have teeth.
And those sloppy Beavers.
And if the Beavers are a little sloppy.
Nice beaver.
They win a couple games. First, Oregon State, 71-63. And then Oregon in a bit of deja vu. 71-63.
That was weird.
What the F?
Ben Bolch put that out because
Josh Lewin put it out first, but yes.
Oh, he
On the
did.
postgame,
Yeah, he asked about that. That was funny because
Pretty fun.
UCLA took down Oregon State 71-63 on January 31st, or was it February 1st? Either way, Groundhog Day was in between that. Yeah, that's what it was. February 1st, UCLA beat Oregon State 71-63. The next day, Groundhog Day happened. The next day, UCLA beat Oregon. 71-63.
That's really cool.
So, are we driving angry, Jake?
It's good. I like it.
Right now, we're not. We were driving angry a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That Utah game, there were a lot of people driving angry.
Yeah.
On the way home, on their way to Poly Pavilion the next week. But in the 6 games since, which in
Could have been 6-0.
In my weekly stat articles, I not only look at the season stats because I like to look at the season trends, but I think it's very important to look at the last 6 games, specifically because it is a little bit different from how teams are producing from earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And from what I look at, in the last 6 games, at this point, when you're listening to this podcast, hopefully this week, if you're listening to this podcast in 2 weeks, this is not going to count. But
irrelevant.
In this first full week of February, UCLA has had a huge increase in their offensive stats. Well, I've talked about all season long how the defense has actually been pretty good. It hasn't been up to par with the last few years under Cronin, but if anything, for this season, the one thing that is getting drilled into the players' heads is defense. And they've had some pretty good defensive numbers. Offense, not so much. But the last 6 weeks, it's been pretty freaking impressive.
Absolutely. But, in that game against the Beavers, Mikey.
Nice beaver.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, shooting percentage-wise, the Beavers are actually, knocking down some crazy shots from all over the place.
That was a weird anomaly.
51%.
Yeah.
But the Bruins are able to still beat the Beavs by out-rebounding them, not having as many turnovers.
I think UCLA had
shooting
12
from
more
three.
shots.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the amount of shots and made shots obviously skew the percentage. But, I mean, you can't take away the percentage, but... Yeah, that was pretty crazy. The fact that Oregon State shot 51.1% from the field and 35.7%, that is above what UCLA allows for the season, and yet they came away with the win.
How do you feel about Dylan Andrews at this point?
I think I expected this sooner in the season. Whatever it is that has allowed him to flourish right now, hey, I'll take it. It's weird that UCLA went through a drought. They're currently 11-11 for the season. But like I said, in the last 6 games, we have seen such a difference from that Utah game where that looked like that was the nadir of all nadirs.
Yeah.
And the fact that UCLA can come away from that, and yes, in the last 6 games, they did lose. They have 1 loss, and that was to Arizona. But that was a game in which
leading by double digits.
Yeah, that was a game in which they at McHale Center too. They unfortunately couldn't hang on and lost, but there were still, from the eye test, that was a team that was competitive as hell, and they've continued to do that. Up until this last week, we're going to see exactly what UCLA can do on the road. And even though they were on the road at USC, it's still in LA. There were still a lot of UCLA fans there, but their next game at Stanford on Wednesday is a true road game. And then they go up to Cal on Saturday. We're going to see exactly how UCLA can respond to adversity. And I think even though Stanford and Cal aren't, world beaters, they're not, a top 10 team, but those can be very treacherous games. If UCLA can, I'm not going to say that they're going to dominate, but if you can get a win at Stanford and Cal, that's going to be huge for this program.
No doubt. And I don't want to move on to what's next yet. I still want to talk about these guys. But getting back to Andrews, the 2 games prior to the SC game, and these are games, they beat Arizona State and they lose to Arizona, but he shot 3 for 15 in those 2 games against the Arizona schools. Mm-hmm. Since then, he was 7 for 15 against the Trojans, 6 for 12 against Oregon State, and 9 for 16 against Oregon. And then also, you got to throw in there, he's had 14 assists over those 3 games, where he had 6 the game before, 2 and 4 in the games before. Playing at a higher level, right? I mean, that's kind of what they needed. I was struck by something that Cronin said after, I think it was after the Beaver game. It might have been after the Oregon game. But he was talking about how they need to play through Bona, but then they also need a guard to play through, and that's been Andrews, right? But earlier in the season, it was very striking that we were saying, a lot of people were saying, and Cronin even said too, is that they don't, they didn't have any sort of go-to guy. They didn't have any sort of force to rely on. And so part of this team success, we're talking about how much better we're playing on defense and all that stuff and how the offense is like coming along. But part of what is making them come along though now too is that there's just guys that are doing things more consistently and guys that you can rely on a little bit more outside of just Bona and his amazing athleticism, right?
And you touched upon it. You just, read off these stats. 8 attempts against Arizona, 7 against Arizona State, 15 against USC, 12 against Oregon State, 16 against Oregon. To me, that shows, and obviously looking at the game, he's a little bit more confident. He's more assertive. He's more aggressive.
Yeah.
I was hoping that this would come out early in the season.
You're talking about Andrews, yes.
Hey, if USC brings out the best in you, perfect. And sidebar, the fact that Cronin finally won in the Galen Center was awesome on many levels because that quieted the USC crowd, which was perfect because every time I'm been to
that UCLA won.
USC in the last 4 years, it's always been chaotic. Yeah. They have us interview Cronin in a hallway,
right?
Where the acoustics in the Galen Center are just very bizarre too. But the last 4 years covering that, it's just. Fans are still in the stadium when we're interviewing Cronin. Drunk fans are coming through the post-game presser. It's like just annoying as crap. You can't hear anything. Cronin is pissed. The audio is horrible. This time, almost silent.
Nice.
Cronin was just like he was just like a baller, just like just walking down Fifth Avenue and just like swinging his cane, smoking his cigar,
Yeah.
and
the SC fans are like this.
Exactly.
That's good.
Oh, by the way, DJ Malski, got to be one of the worst DJs ever.
That's right.
Seriously, like this is a Division I school with this DJ who's doing. Wow, that is exactly what. Like, dude,
Yes.
calm down. Like DJ Malski should be
Was he fist bumping?
DJing birthday parties at laser tag.
Was he fist bumping? Fist bumping?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's annoying as hell.
Yeah.
It's annoying as hell. Anyway, sidebar. But the fact, okay, back to Dylan Andrews. He is coming into his own, and I'm really glad that he just looks the part too.
That's good.
He just has some confidence. He's becoming that point guard that UCLA needs. Mick Cronin said this. I think it was like last week. If the point guard play isn't there, the offense isn't there. And obviously, Dylan Andrews has been a baller, and so the offense has obviously had an uptick in their stats.
Yeah, and he's not the only guy playing well. Like, they're playing well as a team, like collectively and stuff. But that's certainly been very, very notable. Mm-hmm. And then they get to this game against the Wimpy Ducks. Once again, they win 71-63. They jump out to a big lead early.
That was a crazy start.
Right?
Oh, let's start
because of the presidential thing. Like, Mike, I want to say
nuts.
This right now, it's the best thing that President Biden has done since dethroning.
Oh, calm down.
Since dethroning
Calm
Trump.
down.
In my opinion,
Calm
it's the only
down,
good thing
Jake.
he's done is delay
Calm
Oregon.
down, Jake.
Since he got rid of Trump.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
This is not a political
See, we
show.
can agree. We can agree.
This is not a political show, but I think secretly both Jake and I are anarchists at heart. But that's beside maybe. That's besides the point. No, backstory. So, I wasn't covering the Oregon game. Tracy Pearson, he was there, and usually we get
Mike
some. Whoever's there at the game, we give updates an hour and a half before the game. Tracy tweeted out that 51 minutes before tip-off, Oregon was not even in the building. Usually, opposing teams are in the building 2 hours to 3 hours beforehand. Oregon was not there. They were staying.
Their hotel is like 14 miles away, though, right?
No, it was like
exactly
3 miles away.
Yeah, come on, guys.
But that was the thing. Like,
I think it's less than that. I think it's like a mile and a half or something.
Probably.
It's very close.
So
they could have walked.
I'm going to go through this really quickly. Biden announced that he was going to LA like on Thursday before the game.
He has like this, right?
I'm
going to LA.
Okay, DJ. Mary Fieldmowski.
Yeah.
So that created a ton of traffic on the west side. They were staying at the same hotel as Biden, so apparently the Oregon Ducks had to go through all this security check. They were not allowed to leave before all this.
Yeah, it's super crazy.
So anyway, the UCLA basketball higher ups, the administration, got word of it. They got a hold of the UCPD to escort the Oregon Ducks to Pauley Pavilion.
Come with me if you want to live. That's probably what they said.
That delayed the game 25 minutes. So UCLA, who was already warmed up, they were ready for this game. We're just waiting around for Oregon to show up to Pauley Pavilion. Oregon shows up, they get the game going. UCLA just goes on this freaking tear.
Yeah,
and they
which
just
has
went out
nothing to do with Oregon getting their leg. Let's be real. Maybe it did. Maybe it did.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Hey, a little bit home cooking.
But here's the thing.
Oh, well.
Yes and no. I would say this because UCLA they had their foot on the gas. There was a point, I forgot what part of the first half it was, but Cronin basically pulled his starters for the backups. That's when Oregon kind of came back. I would say the only bad thing that Cronin did in this game was that. It's like, I'm sorry, but if you're up that much, what was it? Like 20.
They're up 31-19 with 5 minutes left in the first. Yeah.
And even before that, I think they were up like 23-5.
Well,
something like
2 minutes later, they're up 31-29.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
like, that was, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's every coach has flaws. That was the one flaw I would say about Cronin in this. That the fact that he pulled his starters, I would have put my foot on their necks and just continue to just drill them. substitute one or two players.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Sure,
And then
you thought that
Oregon,
was a tactical error in the game.
definitely.
Yeah.
And Oregon definitely gummed their way back in. The wimpy ducks
They don't even have teeth.
They don't have teeth. They gummed their way back in, and it was
One more
close at halftime.
The ducks, they're wimpy.
And
they
I
don't
did-
even
and-
have teeth.
And I did say I've never seen a meltdown like this in the first half.
Right.
Like it was just like, you're up by 19. How is this happening? But the second half happened, and the Bruins they did not relent. They came out swinging again, and behind Dylan Andrews, Lazar, Bona, they all came, even though Bona was in foul trouble again, they did not give up. And that was the thing that I took away from this, is that the fact that UCLA is learning to finish. They are learning to stay in the game and fight. And they just took down
Yeah, it was
Oregon.
great.
It was
great.
fantastic. It was a
Yeah.
great ending.
Especially like it totally would have been like understandable if they get out of this big lead and then they surrender the lead, and then Oregon, who is a very good team in the Pac-12 this year,
Yeah.
was able to take control of the
they
game.
were tied for first place.
Yeah. It kind of, or if they would have failed at the end like they did in the Arizona game. But
Yeah.
luckily this was at home. Luckily they didn't do that, and and plus they're in front of what were all the luminaries there for in this particular game? Mike, was it just because it was a weekend game at Pauley? I mean, like
That usually
Herrick
happens.
was there. I mean, I know there's always some people there, but it seemed like there was quite a few stars around.
Yes.
And they plan for that too before the season.
Sorry,
The
inadvertent.
big marquee games that UCLA plays at Pauley Pavilion are always on Saturday. The Thursday games, that's pretty tough to get players out to. Like even the Friday night games for UCLA women's basketball, those are tough to get to. The Saturday games for the men's team, and the Sunday game for women's teams, those are a lot easier for fans to get to and have a lot more fans in attendance. So having Oregon, who was at the time tied for first place, technically second because they lost to Arizona, you're going to get more people out there.
So the Bruins, we came into the season with unknown expectations because of how much things changed. We were like leaning towards the positive side.
Yeah.
And then the non-con happened and they showed some promise at points, but also, pretty much every big game they had, they kind of lost, right? And so we're like, okay, well, we had to kind of reset our expectations a
They're
little bit.
young. They're going to learn.
And then they opened up Pac-12 play going, 1-5, 1-4, 1-5.
Yeah.
With the absolute, hopefully the floor being that terrible, near historic loss at Utah. What is the Ute? And
God, that was horrible.
we were like, oh my gosh, certainly not just the players, and the new batch of players wasn't a total explanation of what was going wrong. I mean, you certainly, I know, Mike, you were grousing a little bit at some of how Cronin was handling things as well, to a degree, right? I know, and he was opening himself up to some criticism by taking, all the changes he had and how he chose to reload,
Yeah.
and where they sunk to. However, like now it looks like they're turning the ship around and looking like they're looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I think this is going to, if at the end of the year, they're probably still not going to make the NCAA tournament, barring some sort of, crazy run in the Pac-12 tournament. But still, you can see, Cronin's coaching chops, his fingerprints are on this team, and the way that these players are kind of coming together is kind of an enjoyable watch, isn't it? Now at this point,
It is because I would say this, like I said earlier, the defense is there. It has been there. It's actually been pretty freaking good. They even the young guys have assimilated to what Cronin wants.
Yeah.
But now you're having guys like, as I said, Andrews, Bona, Lazar, Laser. Even though you have
Is
those three
Lazar
guys,
going to be around for a while, or is he gone?
I think I don't know.
So I need to cut Laser.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, you do.
Put it on the list. Sorry.
But I mean, having one guy step up is huge. And we're going to talk about this next with Charisma Osborne and the women's team.
Certainly.
And not guy, person. But when you have 3, that definitely helps out. And even on a smaller scale, when you have guys like Devin Williams, who may be in for like 3 or 4 minutes, but is yet putting all he has out onto the floor. When you have Jan Vide just making plays here and there. Even Kenneth Nuba, the oldest guy on the team, who is grabbing more rebounds than his season average, that helps. The little incremental progress really helps this team. And that's what we're seeing right now. Everyone is stepping up and coming together. And that's what we're seeing right now.
All right. Well, after this next week, let's hope we're saying number 1. Wait, Berkeley's up first, right?
No, Stanford's
up
on
first.
Wednesday night.
So
Suck it, Stanford.
let's go for a little bit of Suck at Stanford.
And then Cal on Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, Megan is
Go
going.
Bruins. Beat the Golden Bears. Beat them as hard as you can. Beat them with impunity.
Oh, yeah, where'd that go? I can't believe. What am I even thinking, right?
And anyway, shout out to Emily
there it
Mortimer.
is.
We love her.
Go Bruins, beat the Golden Bears, beat them as hard as you can, beat them with impunity.
Suck it, Jamal.
Sweet.
No, because Megan's going to go watch Brawny and the Trojans at Haas Pavilion. Tomorrow night or Thursday, whenever that is. But she can't go to the Bruin game. She's really kind of upset.
Oh no!
Because she's got softball games at UC Merced.
Well, I mean, personal.
Yeah, so whatever. But she's got to wake up at 5 a.m. and drive a bunch of chicks to Merced to play. Like, for some reason, the leaders of her softball organization, they're all to a much more degree than Megan. Kind of typical college party scheduler type peoples. But then they schedule this they move the games earlier even. To where, if you had told Megan, she's got to wake up at 6 or 7, she'd be like, all right, cool. But she's got to wake up at 4 for these stupid games. And then she's got to drive. And I was like, what are we doing? There's a just as a father looking on, I think there is a 50% chance that half these girls don't even wake up based on how they're living their lives right now in college. God bless them.
Does she drink coffee? Because I want to send her a
she doesn't,
Starbucks.
Unfortunately. If she drinks even a teaspoon of coffee, she is wired. She's weird. Molly is the one who's practically
I see that.
I'm worried about how much coffee she ingests. Megan, she can't. She even looks at coffee, she starts to get anxious. So it's just.
Maybe I should just text her a picture of a gift card.
You should. That'd be nice. Anywho, the struggle is real for a young Berkeley Bear. But Mikey, let's put a pin in UCLA basketball till next week till we see how they do over the weekend, and go Bruins, of course.
Go Bruins.
But let's get on to the women's basketball talk. I think we can hit this button right here. Women's. 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 Women's basketball. We love you, Nancy. Now, Mikey, the ladies didn't have quite as good of a weekend as the men. It started off good by beating the Golden Bears, right? We'll play that once again because they certainly did beat those Golden Bears.
Go Bruins, beat the Golden Bears, beat them as hard as you can, beat them with impunity.
But they also had some personnel issues, which we'll talk about in a minute, and they ended up getting have they suffered a loss that bad this season?
No, that was the worst, because even in their wins against ranked teams, most of them were double-digit wins.
Losing to goddamn Stanford, sometimes it is hard to be a Bruin.
Sometimes it's hard to be a
Bruin.
When you lose to Stanford.
giving all your love to just one team.
Bummer. Anywho.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Mikey, what'd you think about the games, first of all? And then we'll get into the personnel stuff.
It's weird to... You asked me what I think about the games, and there's just a whole lot of stuff I'm thinking about the games. Mostly because the Bruins are doing... They've... okay, so... I don't even know where to start. In the last 4 games, UCLA is 2-2. And then in the last 4 games, UCLA has been without their star center, Lauren Betts.
Bummer.
And she's out with an undisclosed medical reason. But a good thing, after the loss at Stanford, Corey Close did say that Lauren will rejoin the team sometime this season.
Well, that's good.
Not the most specific or best news, but not horrible. Because what I saw from the Stanford game was, I don't want to say a regression, but it looked like the UCLA teams of the last 3-4 seasons. They're good.
Not quite ready for primetime?
But not quite ready for primetime.
Wow.
Which is weird because you look at UCLA in the games previous, especially the games where they just are destroying ranked teams. It's not just losing Lauren Betts shouldn't be this much of a detriment to the team. You had almost everyone just stepping up and playing defense, scoring on offense, just being absolute ballers. And it against Stanford, it looked like they didn't know what they were doing. And I'm trying to be as respectful as possible, but even Corey Close at the end of the game said that they just did not have that character, that heart. Charisma Osborne said that it was an embarrassing loss, which it was.
I lost my mojo.
Yeah, no kidding. It was just a weird. I don't know what was going on, but this is a weird thing too, because at the same time, UCLA women's basketball is going through. I don't want to say changes. Just they're going through different situations. For one, you don't have Lauren Betts. Secondly, Izzy Ansey didn't make the trip up to the Bay Area. And we just found out today, as right before we're recording this, that she is medically retiring.
That's a bummer.
That sucks because she has not been able to play much because of these injuries. But when she did play, she was a baller. I could see her developing into a solid. I'm not gonna lie. She could probably be one of the best post players in the nation.
Yeesh.
Unfortunately, the injuries have hampered her. You also have Lena Sontag and Angela Dugalich, who both played. I think they both played in the game against Cal, where they beat Cal by 20 points.
Go Bruins, beat the Golden
Why
Bears,
not?
beat them as hard as you can, beat
Jamal,
them with
suck it.
impunity.
Sontag didn't play in the game against Stanford because she is heading back to she's actually heading to Brazil to play for her.
Say again now? Wow.
She's heading to Brazil to play for her home country, Germany, for the Olympic qualifying team.
Oh wow. Okay.
This is what I heard on the broadcast. Dugalich was also not going to play for Stanford, but she did. So I guess she left after that to play for her home country, Serbia, for the Olympic qualifying teams. So, if anything, in the next two games, they're not going to have either of those players. So UCLA was down roster wise, but even still, it just seemed like they were just kind of like stuck in second gear. They were just like stuck in a marsh. They just could not get anything going against Stanford. And it was just a little concerning. I mean, I guess not much because, I can see how Corey Close has definitely got this team fired up. I mean, come on. She came out in freaking football uniform a few weeks ago, and the entire team was just supercharged. It's just a weird situation right now. Not knowing what's happening with Betts. You don't have Dugalich and Sontag. And now Ansey is not with the team. So what is happening to UCLA? Not for the rest of the season because we don't know, but in this next week, what is going to happen? Is Betts coming back this week? Is she going to come back the week after? Either way, UCLA does have a little bit of a break. We talked about this a few weeks ago where they just went through a freaking gauntlet going against Stanford and who else did they freaking play? Washington State and Washington, Utah, Colorado. they got that win against Colorado, but then they had that just freaking slugfest against Utah. They're battle tested, and when you look at their record, 17-4, 6-4, that's a really good team. You know, they're still ninth in the nation, but 17-4, that's a really good team. You look at the conference record, 6-4. You wouldn't necessarily, if you actually look at
like
the
fifth
team,
or sixth place, aren't they?
which is weird because, like I said last week, 1st to 7th place in this conference is very close.
Still pretty good.
It's still pretty good,
but it's not where we were hoping they would be.
Exactly.
Let's
So,
be real here.
Hopefully, this is just a mid-season.
Yeah, there's 7th
lull.
place, 5th or 6th. There's 7th place, Mike.
But how many games? How many games are they out of first place?
7th, 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you win 2 games. Stanford loses.
I mean,
2
it's like
games.
super cray, but like, yeah.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but there's still a lot of games to be played.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games to play.
So what the hell?
2
is
games
gonna
back, 8 games to play.
Yeah.
None against Stanford though. They're probably not going to catch Stanford.
Which that's another thing. The whole freaking Pac-12 schedule, just very bizarre because UCLA men versus Arizona. There was that thing like 2-3 years ago where they only played each other once a year. Very weird. You should have your freaking elite teams play each other.
Oh, it's going to get so much simpler now that we're going to be in a conference with like 42 teams. Right? It's only going to get worse. That shit's only going to get worse.
Well, I don't honestly.
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, but at the same time, next year, Caitlin Clark probably not going to be with Iowa, so that's probably and Iowa's the best team in the Big Ten.
Hold on, Mike, are you bringing up Big Ten women's basketball players right now?
I am.
Get to the chopper!
Okay,
I get
I'm
to.
going to draw
I
the
know.
fucking
I know.
line
I'm not
somewhere.
gonna, I know.
I'm drawing the
I
line
know.
somewhere. Okay,
I'm just saying.
We got at least.
I'm just
9 months before I got to worry about that shit. Get to the goddamn chopper then.
I know. I'm just saying. There are so many things right now.
Yeah.
It's like here's how I could say what UCLA women's basketball is about. It's like you're playing a really good game, and right in the middle of the game, your shoelaces come untied, and do you stop to tie your shoe, or do you have to try to make this defensive stop?
Yeah.
Oh, they made a layup. Well, okay, we can absorb this loss. Let's go back and then score on the other end. That's what I can see UCLA women's basketball doing in the next few games because. Yeah, they're not going to be playing Stanford or Colorado and Utah on the road. Then the next few games, they're where's my schedule? Where's my schedule?
They
right here
have the Arizona schools, the Oregon schools, the mountain schools.
The
and then
Arizona's at home.
The Arizona. They have 4 more games against the Arizona schools.
Yeah, and the Arizona schools not great. You have Utah and Colorado at home. Oregon State and Oregon. Not great. Oregon State, I would worry about a little bit, but it does get easier towards the end of the season. If they can finish off strong, I'm not going to say that they're going to win out, but if you can just maintain a solid, like I would say 75% winning percentage in the last few games of the season, that would put them in a very good spot for the
Pac-12.
not only
NCAA.
getting exactly,
But
not only getting the first round bye for the tournament, but getting a good seeding in the NCAA tournament. Because I think right now, per ESPN's bracketology, I haven't even checked today. I think they...
I think it's right here. I'll get it.
Yeah, last week they were a number 2 seed.
They dropped to 2, yeah.
What is it? I could imagine that they were a number 3
Oh
seed.
my God,
which
they're
is
an
still
8 seed
not
now.
bad.
I'm lying.
Stop.
I'm totally lying. That's not true.
What are they, a
I'm
3 seed?
I'm searching for them. Searching.
But
they're out of the they're a bowl team. First out. No,
stop.
He still has them at 2.
Well, you know what? Fuel to the fire. I'm just saying.
Here's what I'm saying though too, Mike, is that that's all fine and dandy, and it is understandable how they got to this point. I don't think they were planning on losing bets. I don't think they were planning on losing ANSI. I don't think that they were, I think they're hoping that when these players depart for their, for their home teams, their hometown teams or whatever, that they'd be in a better spot than they are now. But with that being said, a month ago, we were talking about this team challenging for the Pac-12 title, and I know they're only 2 games out. However, it doesn't seem like, even with only being 2 games back, only 3 of their games are against teams that are ahead of them.
Yeah.
They've already lost to Stanford.
They've been through their toughest stretch of the season.
They've been through the toughest stretch of the season, but they've also kind of lost their opportunity to rack up the wins against the good teams.
That is true, yes.
So we're probably not talking about a conference championship team at this point. Again,
I would disagree. You think
they're going to win the conference title? Or are you just talking about the tournament title?
Both.
Okay, then. Well, so then walk me through that again, just real briefly then, Mike, because I'm worried about them not having, even though they're only 2 games back, are these other teams all going to play each other enough to where it's going to knock them down a peg? Is that what your theory is?
Yeah.
Which is possible.
For those that don't follow Pac-12 women's basketball, let me equate it to this. It's how the... Wow.
Sorry.
It's how
I was going to make a joke there, but instead I just did that.
Just go to the punchline.
Imagine it.
I was like, what was the joke? UCLA, not UCLA, Pac-12 football. Those dudes have been beating up on each other for the last 5 years.
Rest in peace, Pac-12 football.
Right? Pour one out for the homies.
What used to be known as Pac-12 football.
Yeah. That's kind of what's happening right now. The Pac-12 women's basketball conference has been just the best over the last decade. And they just always... beat up on each other, and you have the likes of Stanford just being the cream of the crop.
Sure.
And Stanford right now is, but I think there's enough talent with Colorado. There's enough talent with Utah, and there's enough talent with UCLA to not just challenge Stanford, but just to make a name for themselves. There's still a lot of basketball left to be played, and when UCLA gets their full roster back, sans Ansty, I think they will be back to what we saw in the non-conference and the beginning of Pac-12 play.
Well, hope springs eternal.
Please.
All right. I have one more thing before we shut this down and get to the symposium, and that is just, Mike, a couple weeks ago, you very cavalierly declared, and I was like, Mike, maybe we should hold off. Maybe just like back away from it. Mike, maybe it's a little premature.
What'd I do?
You said you were going to do a post-game show for women's basketball religiously till the end of the season, and then we were going to post it on
when I could. I said when I could.
Oh, did you? Did you qualify with when I could? Okay, how many? Okay, so it's been like 4 games since.
I did 3.
You did?
And the only reason
Why aren't they on our airwaves? Where's my Bruin post-game? I want to listen to it. I want to hear what you have to say, Mike.
You're right.
I thought we had the kinks worked out. We don't have the kinks worked out?
I didn't.
I
was figuring stuff out in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it out during Cal. And after the Stanford game, I was also dealing with a family emergency.
That's okay.
And a daughter who was vomiting her guts out.
Is she okay now?
All night. I got to say this.
Yeah?
Poppy's a freaking trooper.
Let's go, Poppy.
She missed school on Monday. And she was very pissed off about it. She wasn't disappointed. She was pissed off.
Okay.
And we were like, lie down. You're sick.
Yeah.
And so she went to school on Tuesday, and she wasn't great, but she was happy she was back.
That's nice.
But I talked to her after school, and she was like, I need to go to sleep. I was like, yeah, you do, you jerk. Go to sleep. Get your rest. That's the thing.
Okay, so
kind of equating her situation to UCLA women's basketball. There's a lull.
Yeah.
Rest up. Get better. Get back to 100%. Come back strong, and just kick the shit out of the world.
Okay, so but getting back to the and Poppy get Wilson.
Yes.
But getting back to what I was asking you,
yes.
You actually have done the post games. It's just I haven't heard the post games because they're not on our feed. So that is just we're still dealing with technical issues to get the post game onto our feed. However, if you are interested in a post game show, Mike has been broadcasting them, and in fact, he's not a giant this is what I was going to play for him because I thought he was 0 for 4.
Oh no,
he is actually 3 for 4, which I would say qualifies him as a reggaeton god. DJ Mike talking UCLA women's basketball.
Okay. I am not a fan of reggaeton. Yeah, I tell when people ask me what kind of music do you like, I was like, everything except country.
What about Western?
I'm probably gonna have Western's sweet. Western music is sweet. Willie Nelson,
got country
all day
and Western
all day.
Okay.
The chicks for life, yo.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. So that's still a work in progress as far as the What's Bruin Show feed. But oh, by the way, the Shame Dog wrote to me today on the Slack feed. If you're a subscriber on the Patreon or on the
which I recommend.
Substack, you will get our Slack feed and you can talk to us on that. But Shame Dog was talking about how the Google podcast thing is going away within days at this point. And he was like, well, the YouTube feed's not quite updating or whatever. And I think maybe I'm not updating it to the right thing, like YouTube Music or something is supposed to be the Google equivalent of their podcast. Apparently, I got to research this. If anybody out there knows, shoot me a tweet or whatever and tell me what I'm confused about, because, all our shit's Apple, but I try to be out there for the Android stuff. Anyways, long story short, we do publish a show on YouTube. If I didn't say it at the top of the show, we do. And so when the Google podcast goes away, I would suggest getting our podcast, you can email me for our podcast feed, our RSS feed on like Apple or wherever, or if we're just from Podomatic.
We'll just
and
send
you
it to
get your own, get whatever Google podcast player is available, and you can plug in the RSS feed from the Podomatic show into your RSS feed, and then you can still enjoy the show or whatever. Sorry, a little divergence there.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, people want to know.
Anywho, let's get to the. Are we done with women's basketball, Mike?
We are.
Okay, good. Let's get to the.
I think that was the longest we've ever talked about women's basketball.
Hey, we're chopping it up.
That was a lot to go into. Yeah, so.
I think it was good. Hopefully.
Very good. Very good.
I mean, other than when you mentioned
the leader,
fucking Big Ten basketball players. Jesus God.
Yeah, you had to quell me
my
on
mind,
that one.
You just blew my mind right there.
Still.
Anyways.
The leader in UCLA women's basketball talk.
We'll take
right
it.
Here.
All right.
Right
good.
here.
And lastly, let's get to the symposium. But we love you, Nancy.
Do you think we drink too much?
No, we don't drink too much. Men face reality, women don't. That's why men need to drink.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
What else am I gonna drink, Bob? A fucking Fresca?
No, it's not Fresca tonight. Maybe a little bit of ginger beer, but welcome to the What's Bruin Symposium. Conversation over drinks, and that's what we have here tonight. Me and my man Mike having a little symposium amongst ourselves. Tonight, Mike, I'm having a dark and stormy, which goes along with the weather. I tweeted out a link to drinks to have when it's raining, and dark and stormy was on the list. And it's
very,
the one
very well played.
I went with. Yeah, it's nice. And it gave me an excuse to open up a bottle that I got from Costco the other day. They now have a 15-year barrel-aged rum that's like, it's like $18. And it's actually pretty good. It's from the Republic of Panama.
Oh.
Okay, then.
Panama.
Serious. Honestly,
favorite Van Halen song, gotta say.
Yeah. It's a good one. Mine's Hot for Teacher, but I mean, definitely
that's
a strong one.
That's solid too.
But having it with a
that's such a sweet open.
Such a sweet ass open. That and a little bit of Q ginger beer. You take the rum, you put a couple ounces in a glass with ice, then you fill the rest with ginger beer, and you got yourself a dark and stormy. Maybe add a lime wedge. That's what I'm having. I'll tweet out the photo, put it in the notes. Mikey, you are having an old reliable? Or a new thing? No,
New Belgium
older.
has been one of my favorite breweries. Long time ago, I fell in love with the Fat Tire, and lately, like Voodoo Ranger has kind of been one of their new lines, I guess. They have a lot of these. They do a lot of the fruit IPAs.
Nice.
Some of them are good. Some of them I'm like, I'm weird with fruit and like beers and salsas. So, but Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA, that's a solid one. If you just want like a very,
so it doesn't have fruit.
This one, no.
Okay.
No. Oh God, they have like 3 different lines where
It's got like a skeleton on the
fruit,
front.
juicy IPA, blah blah blah. But no, but the Voodoo Ranger line, very well done.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of the Voodoo Ranger.
Very good, very good. So thank you very much for listening. We appreciate all of your support for just a few bucks a month. How much, Mike?
$2.
Where's my $2 at? Where'd it go?
$2.
Oh, you went right here? There it is.
$2.
You can send the What's Bruin Show into the future. Of course, subscribing on Patreon, patreon.com/What's Bruin Show or what'sbruinshow.com, or on the Substack, what'sbruin.substack.com. And that's just for a little bit more than how much, Mike?
$2.
$2.
And it's like $5 or $6 a month, I think. But we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate we'll give you a little bit of bonus content from time to time. Mallcast from Jake, supposedly, or sometimes After Dark.
We got to do an After Dark. We haven't done one in a while.
We probably should. Maybe we get Jamal on the horn or something to do it After Dark, see how he's doing. Catch up with him. But
we should do it so late that it's so early in the morning for him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we could get him like on his morning drive.
That'd be nice.
Although that's really
I don't know what time he goes in, though.
4 in the morning.
Does he really?
Which he's only one state away, so I think that's like either 3 or 4 in the morning for us. So.
It's not that much. Yeah,
we got to think about it.
And to get me to be up at that time would be pretty tough to ask as well.
Oh
Mike.
God, yeah,
I'm not. I'm not.
No,
an night
thank
owl.
you. No, thank you.
So, but anywho, we want to thank you for your support, and your support helps send the What's Bruin Show, this fun little independent podcast that could been around for quite a while and won't be around for quite a while, with your support. So, thank you once again, Mikey. How much a month?
$2.
$2.
That's it. Thank you.
Blue 32, Blue 32, California, California, hood, hey! Football.
All right. Well, it's been an ongoing saga, but apparently Chip Kelly is still the UCLA head coach, Mike.
As of now, yes.
As of right now. And look, it may change. It may not. It may not. At this point, I would say it probably isn't.
As
That's
of
the way it looks.
February 6th, he is still the UCLA head coach.
That's right. And a couple weeks ago, we were kind of like, I was kind of making fun of these rumors again because it's been the same way for a few years now. However, it does seem like these ones got quite serious to the extent of maybe he was out there interviewing for jobs, actually, right? And maybe he was open to going to the Raiders or to the Commanders or wherever, as long as it wasn't UCLA. However, during that time, even if he was allegedly or actually doing interviews with NFL teams, was he also still like recruiting and stuff?
He was.
Was he also still like naming coaches to glorified positions that don't mean anything?
He was.
And did they actually sign some people? Did my name is Ethan, not Garbers, but Ethan Young.
My name is Ethan.
Just call me E.
He did.
Did he land a boom or two?
He did. A 4-star.
Yeah, that's nice. So, all those things comes around to we may all kind of just wish that we could move on from the Chip Kelly experience, regardless of how positive or negative you actually are about the man, Chip Kelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chip Kelly?
It doesn't seem like it's going to happen yet. Now, it was funny, before we started the show, I was like adding in some drops back onto the board that I took off because the football season wasn't over, and I'm like, I'm done with the Pac-12. And, so I got rid of Nice Beaver.
Nice Beaver.
And I got rid of the Wimpy Ducks. But I put them back on, obviously, because I was like, well, we still have basketball season. But while I was doing that, I actually came upon the page that had a lot of our anti-UCLA football.
Yeah.
The
how many did you have? 19? 74?
I'm just going to go through a roll call and we can decide which ones is our favorite, because right now, there are a couple things I want to say about the program as a whole right now heading into next season and this off season. But if I were to sum up the way the fan base feels about UCLA football right now, the way the local media feels about UCLA right now, certainly can't say this about the national media, except for when they lose a game they're not supposed to lose. But right now, this is the general feeling that we feel whenever we talk about UCLA football, even if we don't feel it personally. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. We're not saying that right now. I'm just saying this is the general mood around the program. Mike, tell me if I'm wrong, but let's just go through the catalog. We got this one.
I don't think anybody cares about UCLA football.
Check.
We got this one.
Chip Kelly can kind of be a dick.
Check.
We got this one.
UCLA's always been pretty soft.
Check.
We got this one.
12 games, UCLA.
Check.
That's how many you have to play at a high level.
Check.
It's not 9 games. It's not 10.
I said
you have
check.
to play 12 games at a high level.
That's a long one.
I hate UCLA.
Check.
That's definitely like
I hate UCLA.
That's
Check.
a double up.
Okay, how many of these do you have?
I told you I got a lot.
Because
UCLA is so bad.
we're batting 1,000 at this point.
Right. How about this one?
I think Chip Kelly is probably the worst coach in the Pac-12 right now.
You're not the only one that thinks
There's no more
that.
Pac-12 though.
I don't like the fucking UCLA guys. Sorry.
Where is the energy and excitement coming from with UCLA football?
Double
really,
check.
UCLA was a lot worse than I thought.
Okay, Jake, I can't do
The
this.
story of
UCLA football
was the mass proliferation of disillusionment and apathy. The huge initial burst of enthusiasm and energy had ultimately produced meager results.
Well,
it doesn't feel like there's any excitement for UCLA football.
I have all that, right? And I try not to play. I don't like playing those, but I mean, like when the shoe fits, I guess that's what it is. And it's like, it is important because right now, like especially during this week, right? There are some outlets that are making a point to point out that UCLA is, or that Chip Kelly is actively searching for other jobs. right? Some people are making a point with that. You hear like terminology like, UCLA is or Chip Kelly is a failed coach at UCLA, and that gets hammered a lot, right? You get, all of the departures, letting the DC, still inexcusable as far as I'm concerned, go across town to a parallel sort of job and then get code, as a code defensive coordinator after the fact, which is weird. You have losing players across town. Very, very upsetting, which it probably shouldn't have happened, but this is a direct result of the DC leaving. You have Kelly allegedly or actually going out and possibly looking for other jobs, right? A lot of things. And then you also have, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but UCLA recruiting, Mike? Mike? Playing both at the same time, right? Yeah. There's a lot that could be said negatively about that as well. And so I play all those drops saying that this could be, it's kind of a low point right now, I feel like, right? It doesn't feel real great.
Yeah.
However, we also need to caution against getting too down on these guys. And I've tried to bring this up multiple times in the last month. We can poo-poo how bankrupt the Chip Kelly era is right now. However, he is still the coach, is he not, Mike?
Yeah.
And going into next season, are there ways in which they could be an improved team over this year? Are there not, Mike?
It's college football. It's college sports. It's sports in general. We could prophesize how the upcoming season is going to go. And just like every preseason AP Top 25 poll in football, basketball, whatever, we could be completely wrong and we can be completely right. It's such a crapshoot. And I understand the fan apathy because things are not going in the right direction. This has not been a great offseason. But at the same time, Chip Kelly has kind of pulled things out of his hat to make the upcoming season desirable, entertaining.
We don't know if it will be yet.
We have absolutely no idea. I think we'll have a clearer vision when spring practice happens. But even with some of the spring practices we've covered, they've surprised us come fall. And it's
at least at the beginning before they disappointed us.
Yet
towards
again.
winter. But and so that's like the natural cycle of things. But what I'm getting at is that their offense woefully underachieved this year, and we'll get to why in a minute when we talk about the coaching changes. Like, well, I want to talk more about that then. However, just from the fact that they may have a semi-confident quarterback going into the season, and most of their offense, the rest of the offense is all pretty much the same, they're going to take a step forward on offense, I think, just no matter what.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And they're probably going to be they're almost certainly going to be worse on defense, and quite possibly much worse on defense. But you have to measure that against the fact that they're only going to play probably, they're going to play fewer competent offensive teams too. There's a lot of dregs of the Big Ten that don't play a whole lot of offense as well, and so that has to be put in there as well. So this is a long way of saying, don't let your expectations for next year's football season get so low that you allow Chip Kelly, right?
Chip Kelly?
To somehow make the argument that he's overachieving going into the Big Ten. Okay? This is still a guy that's been coaching the team for 6-7 years now. And he should go into the Big Ten off and running with all the returners he has coming back on offense. And we shouldn't forget that. And, next year, I mean, if they had an absolute ceiling of a year, they could tout, oh, gee whiz, UCLA has a 9-win season for, 4 years in a row. First time in history or some nonsense like that, which is, it's bankrupt because they should have had at least 10 in 2 of those seasons. But if you poo-poo how they're going to be next year all summer long, and then they come out and they win a few games at the beginning, I'm just saying it's going to be very hard to, that's going to make the case for, re-upping, re-signing, supporting, all that stuff. And it's like, if you want it to end, just have realistic expectations one way or the other. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Am I saying that they're going to win the Big Ten next year? Absolutely freaking not.
Oh, God, no.
But are they going to be in the cellar of the Big Ten? If things stay how they are right now, even losing the coaches they've lost or whatever, I don't think they're going to be that bad either. And so just kind of be prepared for that eventuality. So just don't get too low, because then you're going to give him the chance to outperform whatever his expectations are. And we don't want the expectations to be lowered so much. That's all I'm really saying. Now, Mikey, we have two things to talk about. Number one, you said it at the top of the show, staff changes. Now, Deshaun Foster is gone.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
are we happy for Deshaun?
The fact that he's going to the Plato y Negro, that's pretty solid.
Silver and black attack.
I'm gonna have to bust out
the
my
autumn wind is a pirate.
I'm gonna have to bust out my Raiders practice jersey from when I was a kid.
He put out a picture of him in a Raider hat today.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
I did.
Although
say,
I am now a show me your Lightning Bolts Charger fan.
I did say
sure.
Congratulations, coach.
Bolt up.
And he liked my tweets. So
that's
there's
nice.
that. There's that.
That's
so,
nice.
But that's a huge loss. I do believe that's a huge loss. But the fact that
do you think it's a big loss for this coming season as much as it is like for ongoing seasons? Because to me, I'm like, I don't know. Like I agree with you. It's a loss certainly. You don't want to lose a guy that's had so many great running backs in a row. But they do have a couple experienced guys on the roster right now that I think we should expect some decent things out of regardless, right? Number one, he came back into the fold. And then number two, he's there too. And he's already pretty good.
Yep.
So, I mean, hopefully a lot of the tutelage of Deshaun Foster's already been downloaded into their brains.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can mentor the kids that are coming in.
That's true.
And at least in the short term, I don't think it's going to be, it's a running back coach. It's a drop-off, but I don't think it's going to be that severe of a drop-off right now.
Especially
we're
when
looking
you
more
have
of the long-term scope of development is what we're missing.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you have the rest of the offensive coaches surrounding that, you just fill in the gaps at that point.
Okay, so then we get around to what you had kind of talked about earlier in the title changes that have happened on the staff with Deshaun leaving partially. Right, this is not necessarily one thing to do with the other, but one of the guys that's staying is now Tim Drevno. He is not only the O-line coach, but he's also the, quote, running game coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jerry Neuheisel is not only the wide receivers coach, but he's also the passing game coordinator.
Yeah.
Now, does that really mean anything? Or are these completely arbitrary, made-up titles like assistant head coach to the regional manager was a made-up title for Deshaun Foster last year? Mike, where do you land on that? Because I certainly have a strong opinion about this, I think.
I mean, no, from my opinion, I think it is a huge step up because not only does it show that these coaches have proven themselves in their individual job descriptions, but they have not only assimilated to what Chip Kelly, wants to do going forward, but they're mastering it. I mean, I think that's a huge thing. It's like, when Jerry Neuheisel was hired as a receivers coach, some people were like, "Oh, okay, what's he doing there? Oh, he's only there to recruit." I never believed that, and I believe that
son of a coach.
Exactly. He's not only a player; he's a son of a coach. You're working under one of the best offensive football offensive minds, across college or professional football. You're going to pick up something. You're not just hired to be, a pretty face in the corner. Your knowledge
and that hair
speaks. That hair's gorgeous. My God, how does he not have a deal with like Head and Shoulders or something? He
Let's
needs
get
his
Jerry
own
an NIL deal. Maybe not the dandruff one, but
I've never believed that like some coaches are like, oh, you're just hired to recruit or just to be a pretty face or to be a position holder. No, you're not just going to be a wide receivers coach for a Division I program just because you look good doing it.
That's fine. However, I do think that the quote running game coordinator and the quote passing game coordinator are made up titles within the scope of a football team in order to allow people to have bigger credentials for when they eventually move elsewhere or to justify a bigger salary. And
I mean, maybe, but we don't know the specifics of it. But I have to think that if anything, if you're giving that title, you have enough knowledge and mastery of the system to actually contribute to that sect of the program.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like Justin.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. But I mean, I just like they make these announcements and they like give them the titles. And I imagine they're still going to have a guy that's going to be a running backs coach at some point.
Yeah,
it's not going to be Tim Drevno going to be doing the offensive line and the running backs.
Yeah,
I imagine that they're going to have a quarterback coach, right? And Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator in name, right? Since
like last 3 years.
Since your boy left, he has not named. Since Fry left, he has not named another offensive coordinator, right?
No, he has been the offensive coordinator.
And as Chip Kelly is the offensive coordinator, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So look, when the announcements started coming out, and I was kind of listening to the reactions of people and stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Jerry's so great and he deserves everything he gets." And then, "Oh my God, Tim Drevno, their line sucks, so he doesn't, so I'm really worried about the running game now because he's the running game coordinator." Don't get caught up in that nonsense. It's just stupid things. Like as far as like, what is the passing game coordinator or the run game coordinator going to actually like? How's it going to play out in their coaching staff? I don't think it's going to play out at all because Chip Kelly runs his offense. He's the offensive coordinator. These coaches are all going to work together anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get a competent...
That's the biggest point.
Yeah, you get a competent head to come in and replace Foster. You get somebody competent to replace Ken...
Nuyamatalolo. That was horrible. That was horrible.
You want to try that one?
Nuyamatalolo.
Thank you.
I think I messed that up too.
I think we both did. But anyway, the guy from Navy. But you get guys. There's been a lot of coaching change this season, and who they replace with to coach those positions. Mm-hmm. That's an important part, right? That's the important thing. As far as all these other like silly names and titles that are being like thrown around, I think the most important one of the three announced yesterday or today, whenever this was, is the Cody Whitfield as the special teams coordinator. I guess if he's really in charge of managing those units, but these other things are just kind of wonky.
Nui Matalolo. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. We're so ignorant and stupid, and we apologize. But when I am thinking about the UCLA offense this year and why they struggled, guys are like panning Drevno because he didn't coach the offensive line as well as it has been coached in the past. And I actually would agree with that statement to a degree. However, they were still a top 30 running team, and I don't think they were a poor passing team because of the offensive line for the most part.
No, it's because
was it a contributing factor? Absolutely. But yeah, Mike, that's exactly where I was going. Did they struggle passing the ball? Because
they struggled passing the ball because they had three different quarterbacks trying to do anything.
And because Dante Moore wasn't ready, right? More.
And because Ethan Garbers was just injured.
Well, and he had too much pressure. Jeez, how long is that song play? Jeez. I'm never going to play that drop again. Anyways. Yeah, Garbers came out and he had the pressure on him in the first game. He did not perform, and then Moore took the job. And then by the time we got to conference season, we thought it was going to be all good, but Moore was not ready. And I think that, more than anything else, pardon the pun, is responsible for why the UCLA offense struggled. Yeah. Did they give up a few too many sacks? Yeah. Okay. Were they the best pass-blocking team in the country? Absolutely not. However, were they so bad that that's what dragged the offense down? No, their offense was dragged down because they had poor quarterback play. And
it was very inconsistent.
And so if you change that for this year, they're going to be a little bit better. Yeah. And we're just hoping that when Kelly fills out the rest, like this thing about coordinators, right? What happened to just having an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator? We don't even have an offensive coordinator. We have a run game and a passing game coordinator. Do you think that, who's responsible for play action now, I guess? I don't know. Who's going to do it, right? Who's responsible for the trick plays? I don't know. Is it Jerry or is it Tim? The bottom line is neither. It's Chip. What Chip calls is what Chip's going to call.
Yeah.
No one's going to, get in his way on that.
They just have to be on the same wavelength to go, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, what do you think? You think that's the same? You think the same? I think the same? Okay, do it.
Yeah, but it's all, but the titles are all nonsense. Just let's wait until we find out who is covering the different positions, and that will be something we can more kind of, hang our hat on a little bit as to how good they're going to be. But still, with the offense at least, they have so many veterans on this team this year, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
It'll be better.
I'm just saying, who they hire as the position coaches is going to make as big of a difference for this coming season. Mm-hmm. Developmentally down the line, sure. It's a big loss to lose Foster. But they have so much experience coming back on offense right now that I don't think it's going to matter as far as how successful they are this next season on offense only. Who knows what the records are going to be? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. All right. That's enough. I'm off my soapbox of that.
All right.
Last thing. Oh, wait. But we did have the question from Twitter that I forgot to bring up when you solicited questions, Mike. And what is it? Because I think we already answered it, but let's make sure.
Damn it. I had it right here.
You did. We were trying to be on the ball, and we weren't.
How terrible, and this comes from Lorenzo, how terrible
Hi, Lorenzo.
is our fan support going to be for football next season?
Is it Lorenzo Lamas?
Not quite.
Is it Lorenzo Mata?
Not quite.
Oh.
Probably a step up.
Nice. From Mata? You like Mata?
I love Mata.
Okay.
I love Mata.
Well,
but Lorenzo, fan support.
I like it.
Got to prop him up.
Let's go, Lorenzo.
How terrible is our fan support going to be for football next season with our head coach actively trying to get a coordinator job in the NFL? I just really quickly off the top of my head, players are looking for their best position, whether they transfer or not or try to stay. Coaches are doing the exact same thing. And coaches have been doing this prior to the transfer portal, trying to get a better position, trying to get more money, trying to get a better position in college football or the NFL. It's just the way it is. Maybe it's magnified a little bit more just because of how certain programs have been producing in the last few seasons. But, you know, this is not the first season in which we've heard that Chip Kelly has been looking for other opportunities.
Like a third in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Chip Kelly?
But the fact of the matter is he's still here. And until we hear officially that he's not, he's the head coach and he's going to continue trying to make this program the best it is. Like we just said.
And coming up short.
They just got, yeah. But they just got a 4-star linebacker.
That part's
they
good.
just started, they just updated slash, I mean, is this a bit of an upgrade for these position coaches? Is he still trying to find the best solution for next year? You know, again, until it's announced that he's not the head coach, he still is the head coach.
And that's why I would say it's very important not to lower the expectations for what they're going to be next year so far that you allow him the opportunity to overachieve. And this is coming from someone who like I said, Mike and I both talked to Chip Kelly like live in person, looked into his eyes, Mike much more than me, but I have too. And I actually like Chip Kelly quite a bit. And I think he's a really good football coach. I really do. In my heart of hearts, I think he is a really good football coach. I like his style. I like his philosophy. And obviously
he's had some missteps, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. But who hasn't, right? Nobody's perfect. But the things you can say positive for him is, does he inspire loyalty in his players? I don't think that you could make an argument against that when you look at all the players that have come into UCLA, how they've played, how they've developed, and how they have not.
And who's going into the NFL?
Generally speaking, who's gone to the NFL and who's transferred out of the program. It is not the same dynamic as we see at a lot of other programs. Now, the devil's advocate position for that would be, well, he's not bringing in the super talented guys, and when he does, they bolt like more. But every year it's been predicted, UCLA's going to lose so many people. And then they don't go, right? Because obviously they like something about what Kelly's doing. So this is coming from someone who really appreciates the things that Kelly does right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with it. Like the Lorenzo's question hits it right on the head. The reason I'm done with it is because I'm getting sick of talking about how much everybody doesn't like the Chip Kelly experience. I'm getting sick of going to the Rose Bowl and having 15,000 people there, 15, 20, I don't want to overstate it. 25,000 people there, 30,000, whatever. Right. I mean, I don't want to, I'm getting sick of, people not being interested in UCLA football.
Yeah.
I'm getting sick of the, getting pumped up a little bit and then having like historically poor losses. Like that's the part that the fan support at some point is going to make an impact. Apparently, supposedly, everybody's making a big deal out of NIL. One of the reasons why they are struggling with the NIL is because people are starting to withhold their donations because of the Chip Kelly experience. And that's not good. So there's a lot of things that are kind of sort of seemingly on hold while Kelly is here, and if he's finally turned the quarter and saying, well, then I don't want to be here either, then like, what are we doing? What are we doing? However, with that being said, Mikey, who is the head coach of UCLA football?
Currently, Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly?
And if we go into the 2024 season, are we going to be hoping the Bruins have a great season?
Yep.
I know I will.
Yep.
Maybe other people won't. I don't know. Maybe they might sound like this.
28 hours or so of feeling myself.
I don't know how he's going to feel about, rooting for UCLA football, but I know how I feel. So, I mean, here we are. We got a whole off season to talk about this over and over and over again. Let's just, I don't know. While it's still the Chip Kelly regime, let's just hope for the best and hope that if he doesn't live up to whatever expectations are set, that we can move on.
Yeah.
That's really where we're at. Yeah. Speaking of which, real quick, when is the actual National Signing Day, Mike?
From when we are recording, it is tomorrow.
And when you're listening to it, it's probably
Wednesday,
today.
February 7th.
And do you have it right at the tip of your tippy-tip fingers, Mikey, where UCLA stands in football recruiting? Because if you don't, we can have it right here for us in a minute. But do you know where they're at?
It's not great.
By not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
and that's the
scroll
thing.
down.
You're looking at
You talk, I'll scroll.
Yeah. Exactly.
Still scrolling. UCLA. Wow. UCLA.
Not great, right?
I'm still looking. Oh, 83. Gee whiz.
Yep.
80 freaking 3.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're second to last in the Big Ten.
Yep.
80 freaking 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I will say is it's kind of a little bit of a Stanford-esque recruiting class from like 10 years ago in that when you look at their 83, but then you look at their average rating of recruit, it's like 88.27, which if you went by just the average ranking of recruit type thing, they'd be like still in the top 30. Like the quality of recruits they actually have brought in are semi-decent, but still they brought in freaking 10 guys. That's like half of what everybody else brings in. Why are they bringing in no guys? Are we expecting to bring in any more guys? Is there any anticipated news for tomorrow?
No. But to be fair, that's the same thing across the board. The early signing period, that's the new National Signing Day.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is it's already too late for them to have a big day, right? Like if they would have had a big day, it would have already been.
And that's for everybody. It's like if people are going to point to this day as UCLA didn't do anything, well, it's like, well, nobody else did either because everybody did it in December.
Well, with that being said, the guys they brought in, Quasi Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in, anybody else you're excited about? Mark Schroller, offensive lineman.
All of them. I'm excited about all of them.
Matt Hasselbeck's kid. Somerville's brother, right? There's some guys, whatever. So not very many guys. Like 10 guys. We count them on two hands.
Yeah.
But then they also have the big transfer class, which seems like it's going to be okay. See how that pans out. But it is, just another thing about we joked about earlier in the show. When they actually try to recruit somebody, maybe they come out with a four-star linebacker. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that hasn't really been what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And so here we are with 10 freaking recruits.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
National Signing Day for UCLA, the recruiting class this year, so far, it's one big.
You're not wrong.
All right. Well, there's not that much to talk about then, is there?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's end it.
Let's end it. What time is it, Mikey?
It's time to talk about what's brewing with you.
What's brewing with you?
You asked me.
What's brewing with me?
Yeah.
What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Mikey, what is brewing with you?
Really quickly, I'm not going to say that this is my favorite part of the show because it's actually my least favorite part of the show, meaning that we are done with this. My favorite part of the show is everything before this. Suck it, Bill. So this weekend I had some sick kiddos, so we just spent a lot of the time looking at TV shows, and I'm very proud of my children for not only taking the time and looking at shows that they asked about. They always ask me, "Oh, hey, Dad, what TV shows or what movies did you like when you were a kid?" They just want to kind of expand their horizons. So I've introduced them to Mork and Mindy,
Nice.
Elf, which they
Nanu.
freaking love. They love Elf, and Laverne and Shirley. Currently, Laverne and Shirley is on a heavy rotation in my household.
Schmazel.
Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. Ba-da-da-da. But Jake, can you cue up Watch This Show? Because it's not a show.
It's queued up.
But it's a hit it.
Watch this show.
Watch this movie.
Okay.
Mike.
He watches too much TV. No one can get through to him. Jake, I really hope you know that Doctor Who is fake. Jake, there's more to life than Sherlock. Just to fight a new girl. Wait. No, there's not.
Great job with that, Mike.
Watch this show.
I for several weeks I've had a lot of my friends say, "Hey, have you seen Saltburn? You got to check out Saltburn. Check out Saltburn. You I think you would dig it. It's so weird. It's so out there." And finally, a few days ago, I finally had nothing to do, and I watched Saltburn. And for everything that my friends told me about this movie, they were like, "Oh God, it's so weird. It's so odd. It's creepy." After it ended, I was like, okay, that was an interesting movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's I don't know what everyone was talking about. 10 minutes after that, I realized that that attitude kind of speaks more about me than
Your
it
character.
does. Because the fact that I would just brush aside some of the scenes in this freaking weird ass movie, I was just like, it's all right. That says more about my demented mind than it does anything about this movie. But no, I actually did like it quite a bit because it not only does it have a fantastic soundtrack, but it touches upon something that I in my profession, I've worked in the psychology profession, and this is totally psychologically effed up. First off, Barry Keoghan, just a fantastic actor.
Absolutely.
Those eyes are dreamy. And he did a fantastic job. But this movie, wow, just totally effed up. And it's weird because I fell in love with a song called Murder on the Dance Floor. And I like it because it's very disco-esque. And I love disco. My mom loved disco. And so I got into it. There's a reason that some of my handles are called the Big Disco. Yeah, that final scene. Wow. That's just... that was something. And just to end that movie and go, well, that was something.
Yes.
It took me the next 24 hours after watching that movie to go, maybe I should have a bit more serious analysis of this movie because it was pretty messed up. The fact that I went away from this going, it was all right. Yeah.
It does make me
because you didn't
worry
like
about
it.
our friendship a little bit.
But
it does give me some questions.
But you know me. Yeah, probably.
But,
you should be worried. You should be worried.
No, I've known you for quite some time. I think we're safe.
Anyway, Jake, what's brewing with you?
No. And you're right. I didn't like it, but I didn't like it because I was like deeply offended. I didn't like it because I'm just like, yeah, I've seen other movies that I thought did it better. Like whatever it was trying to do. Like the but let me be saying it was a beautiful movie. It had beautiful people in it.
I love English
movies. It had
movies.
an amazing, terrific style. Like all those things are the things that I was like, yeah, this is pretty rad.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual movie itself, it's like I kind of saw where it was going fairly early, which whatever, that sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't, right? That's not a big thing. But then like there were other movies I thought did the same thing that were more clever than this. Like me and you and Sarah were talking about earlier, and like Gone Girl, something that also had Rosamund Pike in it.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of vibe. I thought that movie was so much. I like that movie a lot more than I like this particular movie, right? And then just from a standpoint of like a whodunit sort of like twist at the end of the movie type of the movie.
Yeah.
What was the murder mystery? The one that had the sequel that wasn't as good, but it had what's her name? The
Onion.
Yeah, Glass Onion, but not that one. The original one.
Yeah.
I can't think of the movie right now.
Glass Onion.
That's Glass Onion.
What? I can't remember.
Okay,
but I
now
know
I
what
have to
you're
look
talking
it up.
about.
No,
I know what you're talking about.
Now I have to look it up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the second one, and yet they're working on a third
But
one.
I think the second one is the Glass Onion. Gosh darn it! Why are we so stupid?
I don't know.
Say the Navy coach again.
Ken Niumatalolo?
Yeah, that guy.
There we go.
Was it Glass Onion? It's not Glass Onion.
It is Glass
No,
Onion. I told
Knives
you.
Out. God damn it!
Oh, Knives Out. There. Okay,
Thank you.
you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
I thought
Yeah,
Knives
okay,
Out was a better twist movie, even though that's not a perfect movie either. It was more entertaining, whatever. That's all I'm going to say about it. Is like the movie was fine. I didn't think it was revelatory, other than just being a little overly gross.
You want to talk about all-time classic twists?
Sure. Digstown? Yes,
I don't
awesome.
Remember, I don't remember if I did. I talk
Mendoza
about this in the
Torres.
last few. Anyway, over Christmas break, I can't remember if I talked about this or not. Anyway, the movie Clue.
Yeah.
Just hilarious, fantastic, great lineup. Everyone just hitting on all cylinders, and you just have no idea how that movie's going to end. And
Because
it
ends
ended
like
in
3
three
times.
different. Exactly.
It ends 3 times.
But that's
Clue. I like Clue.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fantastic. But I could see how Knives Out is in that same sort of vein. A lot darker, a lot more adult. But yeah, you gotta love the Tim Curry and the Michael McKean and
Madeline Kahn.
Christopher Madeline. Oh God, Madeline.
Nothing.
I was in love with Madeline Kahn in that movie.
Who wasn't?
Absolutely gorgeous.
Come on.
So
Yeah.
flames on the side of my face. Anyway, Jake, I asked you like 10 minutes ago.
It's
What's wrong
fine
with you?
Like my What's Bruin's going to be your What's Bruin. Other than like number one, I have a couple things to get to actually.
Okay.
Number one,
A couple things.
Mike, you have to stop responding to people on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
You just have to. You have to. You have to.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay.
Today,
look,
Mike did a report. Or, did like a report tweet. Ansi, that's her name.
Izzy Ansi,
Izzy
yeah.
Ansi is retiring from UCLA basketball, and I'm not even going to dignify the response with giving him any credit for it. But some douchebag just gets on there and is like, "Yeah, well, maybe it's because she wants to, stay in the kitchen or something." Some nonsense, ridiculously like
She wants to
trolling
have
tweet.
a normal woman, a normal life as a woman, having a family and being married.
It had nothing to do with Mike's tweet. It was just some guy being a dick. Okay. And then Mike went down like a 2-tweet response with him. And it's like, Mike, what are we doing? Like, don't even respond to that shit.
I know, but I do find satisfaction in
ignoring it.
No,
The opposite of that.
Bringing light to idiocy on the stupid social medias. I know I shouldn't, but sometimes.
But by definition, it's the stupid social media.
It is.
It's
It
what
is.
is
It
expected. So just don't amplify.
Alright,
Number one.
alright,
I'm saying for our
I wasn't wrong.
For our own mental
wasn't
health.
wrong.
You weren't, but for our own mental health.
Yes.
The other thing is, speaking of the idiot machine,
Yep.
which is Twitter X, just in the last hour, okay, we just spent a lot of time
dear.
talking about the Chip Kelly experience and whatnot, right? And just in the last hour, it's spinning up again, possibly, maybe, with a little bit of pseudo breaking news.
What's brewing?
Breaking news on a weekly basis.
News just in.
A reporter from The Ringer, semi-legitimate reporter with 142,000 followers. So, I mean, I'll give him a little bit of credit. But he tweeted out this an hour ago. Sources: Oregon head coach Chip Kelly is interviewing with the Seattle Seahawks for their offensive coordinator job tonight. Chip has garnered a ton of NFL interest, and the Seahawks have rumored interest in his offense for much of this cycle. Number one, Dorky Solak tweeted out Oregon head coach Chip Kelly. He later corrected it, but just what I'm getting at is there's still a chance
it's ongoing
that this is going to resolve with Chip leaving.
Yeah.
And I would just like to put on the record right here and now at the end of our show in My What's Brewing that if Kelly is their coach next year, which it seems like he might be, seems like he is, and we should assume that he is until he's not, which is what I've been saying for a month. If he's the head coach, then we shouldn't lower expectations, and we should expect the Bruins to be, at worst, mediocre next year.
Yeah.
And don't lower expectations so that way you give them an excuse to say, oh, look, I did what I did with nothing. But with that being said, if Kelly does leave, then we should expect to go into spring ball, and the entire roster is going to leave.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be in for some rough sledding. I mean, we could be like Tyrone Willingham at Washington level struggle. Like,
yeah.
right. I mean, it could be really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
It could be really, really bad. We have to be prepared for that eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I just want to make sure that we're clear about that. That's all I have.
Super clear.
We'll see. Could Chip go to the Seattle Seahawks?
Are we green?
Who's he going to coach,
Super
Mike? Who's going to be coaching there?
Charbonnet and Bobo.
Oh, man, I don't have the drop here. God damn it. Yeah,
It happens.
Charbonnet.
It happens.
Return of the Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Return of the Mac.
Zach. Yeah, there we go.
What was that?
All right. Mike, let's shut this down.
All right.
Thank you. If you're still listening.
Bless
a couple hours
you.
later. How the fuck did we get an hour and a half into this, Mike?
We're awesome. That's how.
Shout out to my dear friend and new listener, super attorney, Jason Rebel. He's the man.
Cheers.
I don't think he's listening. If he is, he's listening to it at 2 times speed. So I'm going to speak really fast. So Jason Rebel could barely understand me because I speak really fast. And then he's listening at 2 times speed, as anyone should on a podcast.
You speak too much fast? Because I thought I speak too fast. But at the same time, I can imagine that other people speak too fast. And when you put this at 2 times speed, I can just imagine that it's 4 times speed. And at that point, you're just like, oh my God, what's happening?
Anyway, that guy, super lawyer, super man, love him to death. And shout out, big ups
And
to you.
lastly, to Nancy, we are with you.
We love you.
All right.
Till
So
next
that we
time.
say,
What's bro?
go Bruins.
Oh, wait, do we?
God, you're a dork. Good night, everyone.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, bro, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.